Beginner ball python tank setups.
Proper royals.
Hey, it's Adam from Proper Royals. Thanks for being here today. I get asked more often than probably anything else, how do I set up my very first ball python tank? So if you have not seen my video on tanks versus tubs, I recommend watching that first, especially if you haven't already bought a tank. If you've already bought a tank and you're already in it, maybe check out that video. But I'm here today to talk you through your ball python tank setup for beginners, okay? Most of what I'll tell you today is really non-negotiable. You have to have this stuff. There's different ways to go about accomplishing some of it, and I'll share things with you that I've learned along the way that I wish I knew at the very beginning, and I wish somebody had just said, don't try and work around this, Adam. You got to do it. First and foremost, before anybody clicks away, you have to, if you don't take anything else away from this, anything that produces heat in your tank, you must use a thermostat with. It's non-negotiable. Do yourself a favor, and I'm sorry to say it, but Google pictures of burnt snakes. If nothing else, as an owner, step one, Google pictures of burnt ball pythons, and you will see why you have to use a thermostat. Just because you can touch the pad and it doesn't burn your hand, you're not the one laying on it for hours on end. You're not the one with scales that are sensitive and organs right on the other side of it. You're not the one that doesn't internally regulate your own heat. These are cold-blooded animals. I'm telling you, you have to use a thermostat, okay? This is a beginner grade thermostat. This is actually what I use on most of my equipment. There are more expensive ones. These have been solid for me up to this point. This brand is iPower. There's a couple other brands, but they look identical. So they're the same manufacturer, just under different badges, okay? So I'm just going to start from the start and talk you through it. I suppose one other thing before anybody, goes away from the channel or gets an answer they're looking for and moves on, let's talk through this real quick. What's it going to cost you to do this properly for the safety of your animal and the happiness of yourself as a pet owner, okay? So let's just say you got a screaming deal on the tank and an old friend gave it to you. You can find tanks at yard sales, school sales, all that sort of thing. Tanks are, I wouldn't say easy to come by, but they're out there. So let's just say you got a tank for $0, okay? Really fast. You have to buy a screen, metal screen lid for it. You have to buy clips for your lid so that the snake doesn't escape. You need a locking lid. You have to have one. I recommend 2 thermometers for inside your tank. Those digital ones are going to run you 2-pack on Amazon. It's about 16 bucks. You need 2 thermostats. You're going to need one for your overhead bulb, and you're going to need one for your under tank heater. So you need 2 thermostats. Best deal on those, they run about 36 bucks for a 2-pack. So you can get 2 of them for 36 bucks. You're going to need a lamp, and that's going to run you about 10 bucks. Maybe it's 12, maybe it's 8. Call it 10 bucks. Use a ceramic heat emitter. I'll talk about that when we get set up, but that's going to cost you 6 bucks. Your under tank heater. I think this is an 8-watt right here. This is an 8-watt under tank heater. It's going to cost you about $10. If you expand and get bigger and have more snakes, you can actually bring that cost way down. That's in another video if you want to learn about heat tape. But for now, for your first beginner tank, that's going to cost you $10. You really need an infrared temperature gun. I guess you could do without it. How are you going to know if the temperatures are right? How are you going to know if your thermostat's reading properly? You need it. If you're going to spend all the other money, spend that $18 or so. You get it at Harbor Freight in person. You get it on Amazon. During the pandemic, a lot of people have bought these thinking they can take their forehead temps. That's not what these are for. However, they are a little bit hard to come by on Amazon right now. Harbor Freight has them, Home Depot, that kind of thing. So 18, 20 bucks. We'll call it 18 on the math here. Coconut husk substrate. You could use paper towels, you can use newspapers, napkins. I recommend the coconut husk substrate. There's many different companies. This is Reptichip. I'm not affiliated with them. And we'll talk through why, but I recommend this. This is a 10-pound block. You might say to yourself, when am I ever going to use 10 pounds of that? I don't know, over the next decade and a half to 2 decades that you're going to own your ball python, it's 25 bucks for a 10-pound block. That sounds like a lot of money. If you buy the 1 pound or 2 pound bag, your price per ounce, it's triple, quadruple versus just buying the 10-pound block. There's breeders that laugh at me for buying the 10-pound block because they buy it in pallets because my cost per ounce is through the roof. So you'll use it though, is my point. Coconut husk, that's 25 bucks. Again, we'll talk about it on the setup. You need 2 hides. I only have 1 up here. You need a safe, secure place for your snake to hide and feel safe. This is a specific Vivarium, I don't know the brand on it. There's several producers. Anyhow, you can find these pretty readily on Amazon. These are $8. You get 2 of them. You're going to be in that, I said 8 bucks. I got it down here for 10 bucks. Maybe you get a little cheaper. $10 on your 2 hides. One note, again, if you turn away before we get there, on your hides, make sure they're identical. You want your hides to be identical so the snake doesn't decide it likes one better than the other because of the hide, and then it chooses the preference of the hide over the comfort of the temperature, okay? Make your hides the same. 10 bucks. You need some reptile disinfectant. You can get by with Dawn dish soap and watered down in a spray bottle, but then you got to have another spray bottle and you got to wash out the Dawn that you put in there. F10, if you put in F10 veterinary disinfectant or F10 reptile disinfectant, several options will come up on Amazon for you, okay? Lastly, you need a water dish. Yeah, you can use whatever water dish you want. I did that when I started, and this one actually has water in it, so I'm not going to demonstrate, but this is a nice wide base and vertical sides. It's nearly impossible to tip over. Most water dishes, snake crawls on the side, flips it over. Now you got a whole cleanup to take care of, okay? I'll tell you from the start, if you didn't see my video on tanks and tubs, tanks are hard to clean. Don't make your life harder with the water dish that they're gonna flip over and add cleaning. You're gonna have plenty of cleaning on your plate with a tank, okay? 6 bucks. You throw all that together, so even with the free tank, everything else I just outlined that really you have to have, it's going to cost you $170 just to house a ball python. 1, you got to make sure you're in it. I don't mean to be mean. If you can't afford to take care of your snake, don't own the snake. I say that from a caring place. There's a time in my life I could not have afforded to take care of a snake. I shouldn't have had one. I didn't have a puppy. I didn't have fish. I didn't have a bearded dragon. I damn sure didn't have my ball pythons. I couldn't afford it. I had to get myself right before I could care for anything else, all right? Make sure you can care for this ball python and that you have a plan to care for it. 170 bucks to start, okay? That's before you buy mice and rodents. Think about it. Let's set this tank up, all right? So, starting from the outside in, the outside of the tank, you need to enclose 3 of the sides. I know the lighting in here is a little bit weird. If you see a ring on here, that's from my video lamp. 3 of the 4 sides I've enclosed. This was kind of my rock and roll theme one. Guitars, I really love music, so I put some Guitar Hero stuff on the inside here. What you're doing is making the snake feel more secure. If the snake only sees dynamic movement one direction, it can look that direction. If these aren't enclosed and there's things around it, it's going to drive the snake crazy. Plus the glass and the reflections do weird things for the snake. You don't want your snake stressed out. I'm telling you, the only time I've ever had aggression from a snake is in a tank that I didn't have properly set up. The snake didn't know which way I was coming from to pick it up, which I always pick it up from behind its head. it saw my reflection and it tried to strike it because it was so nervous that there was so many things going on. It's like a house of mirrors in there. It can be black, it can be a design, whatever you want, just get it enclosed, okay? Secondly, incredibly, incredibly important. These under tank heaters go outside the tank. They go on the bottom of the tank on the outside. You lift, you stick. Before you stick, the thermostat has two cords coming off of it. One cord will go to the wall. That brings electricity to the thermostat. The thermostat regulates that when you plug in your heat pad to the thermostat, when the thermostat gets power. The thermostat gets power, it gets warm. When the temperature rises to a certain point, it cuts off, okay? How it cuts off is this probe. This probe gets stuck directly to this heat pad, right in the middle, right like that, and the bottom of your tank, of your aquarium here, terrarium, vivarium, whatever you want to call it, your tank is going to sit. You're going to stick that right on. This is the sticky side. You're going to stick that right on the bottom. Heat pad, under tank heater, UTH, those are all the same thing. Thermostat probe in between the glass and the under tank heater, and then you secure it on there, okay? Secondly, so you're going to install that. Secondly, on the outside of the tank, and that's going to go on one side or the other. This tank is set up for this to be the warm side. So this will be set at 90 degrees with the heat coming up for the belly for the snake to digest. So that'll be on this side here. You want your under tank heater to be no more than 30 to 40% of the length of your tank. So if you look, a size enough that the snake can be fully on it, and then there's plenty of room in the tank for the snake to be fully off of it and moving around, okay? See what we're aiming for here? So if you have a bigger tank, a bigger heat pad, if you have a bigger snake. This is only a 10-gallon tank. If you have a juvenile snake, this will hold snakes very, very comfortably up to 700 or 800 grams. That's about halfway to maturity. So first year, year and a half, they can stay in here. After that, you need to go up to at least a 20, more likely a 30 or a 40 breeder tank. Problem is, remember, our ball pythons want confined, secure areas. Don't put a baby snake in a gigantic tank, please. That's the other thing you have to consider with the cost, is you have to grow your enclosure with the size of the tank. The snake will outgrow an enclosure. Whatever myth that is, that they only grow to the size of their enclosure, is nothing but a myth. It's nonsense. All right. So this tank, we got the hot under tank heater, hot side over here. Then you'll have your screen and your lid, and you have to buy these clips. They clip right on the edge of the screen, and then you clip them in on the top lip up here. Then the snake can't get out. You need a set of locking lids. Some people use bungee cords. Some people, however you secure it, these clips are the best. Don't take shortcuts. You're going to take a shortcut and your snake's going to be gone one day. Okay? So the lid's on. You got your clips. Just that fast. Now, your overhead lamp. You got your lamp. This is what's called a CHE, a ceramic heat emitter. This is a 60 watt, and I think anything over 60 watts is overkill. The thermostat is going to regulate the temperature for you. If it's not hot enough in there, the thermostat stays on, and you'll produce more heat until it is hot enough in there. The higher the wattage, the more likely the chance the screen gets hot enough to burn your snake. Secondly, it blasts so much heat that your thermostat's going to be constantly on, off. Lower wattage does better. 60 is great, okay? This doesn't actually produce any light. It only produces heat. It's basically just a heating element, all right? Notice I have the lamp at the opposite end of the tank of my hot side, okay? This under tank heater isn't going to heat the whole tank to 90 degrees, but it heats that belly. And when they're in the hide, on their hot side, on their belly, they're getting plenty of heat. When they're out and about, this is for the radiant temperature. You want the the ambient temperature inside your tank to be around 78 on the cool side. So this probe, so the probe for the under tank heater goes in between the under tank heater and the glass. The probe for your overhead heat, you're going to run it right through the corner of the screen, and you're put about halfway down the tank on the inside. This leads to some debate. Some people think that the wires inside the tank is dangerous. Myself, I don't know a better way to get a thermostat in there. Some people will tell you, oh, just use your dimmer and check with your radiant gun, your infrared gun until you get it right and dial it in. Absolutely not. You need a thermostat. Put your thermostat probe halfway down on the inside, and you'll plug the heat lamp into the second thermostat. So you have two thermostats now, okay? So your under tank heater's under there, and your heat lamp on top is there. You got your clips, and you got your screen, and 3 of your sides are blacked out. Cool? All right, let's talk about the inside of your setup. The inside of your setup, first off, you have your coconut husk base. You don't need to put so much in here that you don't make it your goal that the snake never touches the glass. There's nothing wrong with it touching the glass, okay? The other thing that's going to happen is the snake's going to find the heat that it wants, and it's going to use this coconut husk, which, by the way, if you can't see it, that's sort of how it looks. The coconut husk, the snake's going to make a little nest. The snake's going to make a nest on top of the under tank heater, and it might want coconut husk where it's more comfortable, or it might clear it away and lay directly on the glass. You don't need to ensure that the snake never touches the glass. What you can do, and actually what I do recommend, is getting newspaper to put on the glass, then put the coconut down. That'll help when you're cleaning to be able to just roll the whole thing up. I will recommend that in a tank, and I don't have that here. So, you know, half an inch, one layer of these cocoa chips is plenty deep. Spread that out. And then this tank really is pretty simple from here. One hide here. You'll have a second identical hide here on the cool side. And you'll have your water dish right in the middle. That's all that you need. Excuse me, it's not all you need. I also put in a thermostat, or a thermometer and humidity level reader right in the middle. In the middle, that temperature should always be somewhere between, it should be close to 78. You're gonna have your heat over here. If it's 80, it's 82. You never want the cold side to go below about 76, even late at night. And you never ever want the hot side above 90. And the 90 should only be coming from under the glass, okay? When you temp the hot side, I don't know if you can see it. What I'm doing is I'm clearing the coconut husk. You'll take your infrared gun and you'll temp the glass. Don't crank that thermostat up until your cocoa is reading 90. Your cocoa husk will not read 90. If your cocoa husk reads 90, that means that glass is probably 130 degrees and you're going to burn your snake. If that glass is 100 degrees, you're going to burn your snake. You need that at like 88 to 90. Always go under on the temperature rather than over, okay? 88 to 90 on the under tank heater, measuring the glass. Cold side, 77, 78, 76 late at night, measured with your thermometer and your humidity gauge. Humidity, ideally, you want it between 50 and 60. You're going to struggle with humidity in a tank. So look what I've got on the top here. I've got space where the lamp is going to sit. That heat goes in. on the top, other side, I have Press and Seal. Glad Press and Seal. If your humidity is too high, pull back your Press and Seal a little bit. If it's too low, increase the area where your Press and Seal is. That's going to keep your humidity in, okay? Almost daily, you're going to need a spray bottle of water, and you're going to need to spray your coconut husk. Probably, depending where you live. That's how you can increase humidity. This is going to be constantly drying it out, and you're going to be spraying to make sure that your humidity stays the same. It's the biggest challenge with tanks. It's why in the long run, I do recommend tubs, but most beginners and pet owners, if you only have 1 or 2 snakes, a tank makes sense. You just got to put in the time with it, okay? Use thermostats on anything that provides heat to your animal. All right, lots of people ask about decorations. You'll even see the term enrichment used. There's an argument and a philosophy that a snake's mind and mental state would be made calmer and better with what's called enrichment, which ends up being things that they can climb on, things they interact with, things they can go under and explore. A lot of times enrichment is mistaken for decorations. They can be one and the same. Enrichment is about the snake, not about the owner, okay? My personal belief, this is just my belief, this setup, as long as there's 2 hides, as long as you've got thermostats, as long as your temperature on the cool side is at around 78 and your under tank heater is getting belly heat temp on the glass up to 88 or 90, and you're feeding responsibly, fresh water, cleaning responsibly, you have provided a safe place for the snake, you've provided food and nourishment for the snake, and if you ever wanted to breed it, you would be able to provide for its desire to reproduce. Those are really the 3 things that these snakes live for: safety, food, making babies. My personal belief is that the more decoration you have in there, the more stuff you have to clean. And the more stuff you have to clean, the more opportunity you have to fester bacteria and things that can hurt your snake. So if you want to buy into the enrichment philosophy, which is okay, you also got to buy into, you better clean it like crazy. There's more space for stuff, whether it's dust, whether it's little insects, whether it's bacteria. Let me tell you, first big poo you get out of your ball python, you might be reconsidering even a tank at all and moving to a tub. But secondly, you're going to see they get that stuff everywhere. Sometimes it's in nice tidy clumps for you. Not all the time, I'm here to tell you. And you need to clean that. If you can smell it, your snake is living in it. It's you know what they say about that stuff. Bacteria, it's gross, right? All right, keep your stuff clean. My recommendation is less decoration is better. Let your snake be the star of the show. All right, everybody, there you have it. There's your basic beginner ball python tank setup. If you have questions, leave them in the comments down below. Email me directly. I'll help you out. I'll give you all the help that I can. I love the hobby. I'm happy to see it grow. If you found value in today's video, give me a like. I appreciate it so much. If you want to stay with me on this journey from family hobby to family business with ball pythons, subscribe, follow us on the journey, participate with us. Otherwise, thanks for being here. I really appreciate you. See you next time.